When they came in 1993, they knew the Indian consumer cannot afford to buy an ultra-luxury passenger car. Therefore, what Ford decided to do was to bring one of their mid-price cars, which they designed for middle America and priced in the US for about $20,000. They decided to bring that car into India. And before they brought the automobile platform into India, they wanted to take out unnecessary features in that automobile. If you can take unnecessary features out, you can bring down the price point. That's always good. So they put together a design team in Detroit to figure out what's good for India. And the design team, one of the places they decided to take cost out was in the power windows. Instead of having power windows on all the 4 doors, the design team said Indians could do with power windows on just the front 2 doors. Well, did it bring down the cost structure in the automobile? Sure. Now what happened? In India, someone who can afford to buy, say, a $15,000 automobile is typically extremely rich. That Indian tends to have a chauffeur. So the chauffeur got the power window. I'm not making this up. This looks like a perfectly logical way to enter India when you're using the Detroit lens. Now, what's the problem with Kellogg? You see, if you ask the executives in Kellogg, they will tell you they have already done the innovation for India. Take, for instance, cornflakes. If you look at that product, in India, they have plain cornflakes, then they have mango cornflakes, then they have banana cornflakes. So they think they've already done the innovation. Now, what's the problem? As you well know, we Indians, we love to eat hot breakfast. So you pour hot milk on your cereal. I don't care whether it is plain cornflakes or banana cornflakes or mango cornflakes. It becomes a mush. Who wants to eat that? So only Indians who are buying your cornflakes are Indians who behave like Americans, who pour cold milk on their cereal. So the CEO for Kellogg, sitting in Chicago, says $5 million sales revenue in India is okay. Once Indians become more civilized, they will come to my cornflakes. Well, in a multipolar world, who decides who is civilized and who is not civilized? Now, what's the problem there? ESPN. See, I was in India last month. I was staying at the Taj Hotel. And the lady who came to clean my room, she always came after 6 p.m. because you can make twice the salary if you came after 6 p.m. And she has 3 boys, a wonderful husband, a wonderful family. Just gotten talking to her. She told me she has 6 paid movie channels. This is like Showtime, HBO, etc. By the way, these paid cable channels are very expensive in India. That means she is a copious user of media and entertainment. By the way, if you're ESPN and you use the American logic to segment the market, you're going to miss her completely. Because in the US, you're not targeting housekeeping staff in a hotel as a copious user of your product. So I was kind of curious. So I asked her, I don't want to insult you, but I'm kind of curious. How come you're spending so much money on media and entertainment? And she told me, sir, you're absolutely right. But if I didn't have the paid movie channels, my 3 boys will go out every day. When they go out every day, they spend a lot of money. So by having the movie channels, I keep them at home. So she's done her discounted cash flow analysis and figured out this is net positive. Then she told me if I don't have the paid movie channels, my mother-in-law will go next door to watch a movie. If my mother-in-law goes next door to watch a movie, who's going to stay behind to cook for the 3 boys? I have to do that. Then I can't come to the Taj Hotel after 6 p.m. and get twice the salary. She may be poor. That does not mean she can't be a consumer. Actually, it turns out she is a copious consumer. She may be poor. Therefore, she is clearly illiterate. That does not mean she is not intelligent. In fact, poor people have the same appreciation for value as the rich folks. It is for us to understand what is the value they are seeking and try to do breakthrough innovation to unlock that value. Therefore, whenever I talk to Western multinationals, I say, never ask this question. Don't ever ask the question, where's the market for my transatlantic global strategy? This is the question Kellogg is asking. How can I place my cornflakes into the breakfast market in India? You're hopelessly lost. Instead, ask the question, what is the value those non-consumers are seeking? Then use your tremendous capabilities to unlock that value. Perhaps let me just close with a few observations and take questions. To me, we need to fundamentally change our definition of innovation. In the best, we think innovation means we have to spend more money. If you ask any American executive or any Western executive, you say, we want you to innovate, first thing they want is more resources. I want to spend more money and create more performance and more features in my product. Take, for instance, a company like Gillette. By the way, Mr. Gillette was the one who invented the razor and the blade, which created the razor and blades business model. They sell you a razor, and then there is a rich annuity of high-margin blades. When Gillette wanted to do innovation, first you had a single blade. Then they said, let's spend a lot of money and create Track 2, which is 2 blades. Then they spend a lot of money on innovation and create Mac 3, which has got 3 blades. Then they spend a lot of money on innovation and create, whether you believe it or not, Fusion, which has got 5 blades. Soon, Gillette will be spending money, you will have 25 blades. We have got to fundamentally change our definition of innovation. Innovation is not about spending money. Innovation is spending less. That's the whole essence of frugal innovation. That's the whole essence of reverse innovation. We got to innovate by spending less. In fact, we have to change the very definition of innovation from value for money to value for many. And value for many is about doing more with less. It's about doing lot more with lot less for a lot of people. That's the essence of frugal innovation. A great example of frugal innovation is the recent India's launch of the satellite to Mars. That project cost $75 million. Just to put it in context, the US Mars mission cost $2 billion. In fact, a couple of years ago, there was a movie, a Hollywood movie called Gravity, which is a failed mission to Mars. And that cost $150 million. So a make-believe Hollywood movie about failed mission to Mars cost twice as much as the real-life successful mission to Mars. In fact, countries like India have the absolute ability to dominate reverse innovation. Who understands the non-consumers in India? Some Western multinational who comes to India are people who are already part of India. In fact, we have a great opportunity to understand, just shift our innovation focus to India. In fact, I would put the economic growth in India in 3 phases. Prior to 1993, we had no need for innovations, inefficient. Economy was highly inefficient. As long as you produce, there are customers to buy it. So innovation was never a question. Phase 2 is liberalization. In the last 20 years, The Indian economy, by and large, have grown essentially by reducing the inefficiency. We built so much inefficiency in our system, we simply grew by making sure we take away our inefficiency. Or at best, we produce product for the West at a lower cost. It could be an IT services industry, we make the software cheaper for American consumer. That's all we have done in the last 20 years. In fact, the next wave of growth going forward has to be about breakthrough innovation. And this time, we have to focus our innovation on the 90% non-consumers. India has 1.2 billion people, of which only maybe 100 million are consumers. We have a huge non-consumption population, and we have got to turn our innovation on them. And if we innovate for the non-consumers in India, we use that as a platform to launch global strategy. And that requires out-of-the-box thinking. That demands breakthrough thinking. In fact, I got this notion of out-of-the-box thinking, breakthrough thinking, thinking differently by watching movies. I grew up in Tamil Nadu. I grew up on Rajinikanth, Kamal Haasan movies. And there is one movie of superstar Rajinikanth. In the last 20 minutes of the movie, the villain ties down Rajinikanth and kidnaps the heroine in a Mercedes, of course. And the police starts to chase the villain in their police van. Now, the police van plays by the same rules as the Mercedes, because you can only go on the same roads as the Mercedes goes. But the police van is a little slower. Therefore, in the movie, you see the gap between the Mercedes and the police van keeps on increasing. Now, after about 10 minutes, Rajinikanth unties himself, but he knows one thing. He is already 10 minutes too late. He can't catch up with the Mercedes by playing by the same rules by which the Mercedes plays. He has to come up there out-of-the-box thinking. So what does Rajinikanth do? He jumps on top of a horse. You see, horse can maneuver in roads that automobiles can't. So he goes through a lot of back roads, climbs a mountain and jumps in front of the Mercedes. That's thinking differently. And I say if we want to excel, reverse innovation, that's the kind of mindset we need to bring. Perhaps when we close with this and take questions, if you take 100 poor people at random and 100 rich people at random, there is absolutely no difference between the two groups. Poor people have the same ambition as the rich. Poor people have the same needs as the rich. Poor people have the same desires as the rich. Why can't they have the same access to opportunities? That's the essence of reverse innovation. Thank you very much.
We would have a question and answer session now, so if anybody who wants to ask any questions, they can go ahead.
I think somebody's hand is up here.
How do companies like GE, the multinationals, manage the politics of reverse innovation? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of resistance from the Western headquarters in terms of cannibalization effects and all of those things. So, how do they manage this the politics of disruptive innovation coming in from the emerging countries?
Yeah, it's a great question. By the way, when an innovation from a poor country goes into a rich country, it goes into rich country in 4 different ways. It is only the 4th way creates cannibalization. The 3 other pathways don't. What are the 4 ways it can go in? First, you go after the poor people in rich countries. By the way, there is no cannibalization there. When the $500 ECG machine goes into the US, there are some rural areas which don't have any ECG machines. They are too poor. It may be only a thin slice. It may be only 10% of the US population, but they have no access to this product. There is no cannibalization there because it's all new demand. The second way it goes in is when you drop the price point so dramatically, due to price elasticity, the overall market expands. When the overall market expands, there is no cannibalization. By the way, we have seen this in other industries. When the price of television drops, people buy more television at home. When the price of computer drops, then I buy a computer for my office, then I buy one for my home, then buy one for my wife, then buy one for my kids, one for my dogs. When the price of product goes down, the overall market expands. That means when the price so dramatically comes down to $500,